Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are really excited to have you here, and we believe you are interested in what real-time translation can do for your customer experience and for your business. So we've put down a webinar together with our partner, Avaya, and with Transcom, and to make this feel less like a distant goal, using real-time translation, and more like something you can actually achieve in the short term. But before we dive in, I would like to mention that we are welcoming any questions you have throughout the session. You can use your chat, and we will address them after the whole session in the live Q&A. But before we go deep diving into the webinar, I will explain a bit the agenda. We will start by taking a behind-the-scenes look of the Avaya Experience Platform with Celinda, and she will also share some insights into AI and the solution. Then Aaron will share the Transcom journey, how they use AI real-time translation to help them work smarter, save costs, but also to make sure that there's a better experience for the employees and for the customers. After that, we will showcase the demo with the real-time translation solution in it and how it works. And then I will make sure I explain how you can make it a success within your own organization by implementing these kind of technologies. And we would like to finalize the whole session with a live Q&A. If you haven't asked any questions during the webinar, you can still ask them in the Q&A. But before we start, I believe it would make sense to get you introduced to the speakers. So, Celinda, can I give you the floor for now?
Sure, thank you. Hi, welcome everyone. I am Celinda Fijn. I am a business consultant at Avaya for 7 years now. And I'm really dedicated to maximize employee experience and customer satisfaction by integrating innovative contact center technologies in the pace that the customer wants. So, Aaron, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Linda. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Bodin. I am with Transcom, based out of Stockholm, Sweden for time being. My responsibility at Transcom is to ensure that we have the right digital capabilities, products, and AI offerings for our clients. And I think I've spent close now to 2 decades in the CX space, both as a service provider, but also as a customer to BPOs in the past. And really looking forward to take you on a journey today and to show you some behind the scenes and thoughts on how this technology can come to life within a few weeks.
Okay, nice. And I will finalize the introductions by introducing myself. I'm Maaike Veerwer from Sabio. I'm a business consultant focusing on customer experience, several years experience within technology, customer experience, and process improvements. And I'm trying to make sure that technology is not only for the tech parts of the organization, but also incorporated into the business for your employees, but also for your customers. So let's start the webinar. Celinda, can I give you the floor again?
Yes, thank you, Maaike. So, first I will start with to take you on a deep dive into the AI engine and the Avaya Experience Platform. But firstly, we should have a look at the AI market itself, because the emergence of generative AI and the maturity of conversational AI platforms have accelerated the automation trend. Gartner predicts that contact center AI automation segment has the highest growth, increasing from 800 million in 2021 to 16.4 billion in 2027. This hyper-automation will transform contact centers because by integrating various technologies like AI, machine learning, and robotic process automation, it creates a system that is better in understanding the customer's intent, and it provides benefits like increased productivity, enhanced customer experience, and improved decision-making. Gartner even says that conversational AI will reduce contact center agent labor costs by 80 billion in 2026 and increasing to 240 billion by 2031. Because the technology that can be created with these AI tools like transcription, virtual agents, agent assist, and real-time translation has a huge impact on the roles of agents. It will all change because by taking away repetitive and simple tasks through automation, it will make the agent jobs more demanding and hiring talent will be even harder. Also, according to Gartner, is that one of the key trends that they can see right here. Hence, AI tools such as conversational AI, machine learning, and robotic process automation have emerged as crucial players in elevating contact center performance. And these technologies empower contact centers to understand and predict customer behavior, streamline operations, and deliver personalized service at scale. It will have an impact on the experience of the customer by receiving more personalized and relevant information faster, and the experience of the agent, because they have all the relevant information and the tools at their fingertips, which will make their work more productive and more efficient. Or even think about how it can change the training of new employees by making all those kind of information at the fingertips of them. So AI-powered customer service tool enable organizations to automate experiences, streamline workflows, and assist agents. It will ultimately save money and also time. But the key thing here is data. By bringing all the data together across the enterprise, it will give the possibility to create a full picture of the customer journey. And with the Avaya Experience Platform, we would like to go beyond isolated customer experience products, and we want to integrate them all in an ecosystem with all kind of third-party technologies or Avaya technologies, so that we can really create a flexible plug-and-play customer experience platform rather than disjointed tools. Because ultimately, when we are creating a single platform that can run on-premise or in a private cloud or in a public cloud, this will make all use of one core, this one common core. And this simplifies the decision-making process, because you can choose to build the use cases that you want to address and not what the deployment model is. So we are investing in our orchestration data layer and across our AXP AI framework to make all that information created by AI available for better analysis, faster decision-making, and improved CX. And one part of this is to move this voice from on-premise to a cloud on our media processing core. And this can deliver a lot of AI processing of the media, like AI video augmentation, transcription, recording, and also noise reduction. So with the Avaya Experience Platform, we really want to empower you to keep the system and the processes that you already have refined over the years. And then after that, as a second step, we want you to determine what kind of innovations to overlay on the current capabilities you already aligned. So think of maybe a customer experience tool like the AI-assisted self-service, or employee experiences like the assisted agent or other connected tools and workflow apps. Or maybe on a business growth level, think of the journey orchestration or proactive care that you can offer to your customers. And as third step, then you should accelerate your outcomes on crucial metrics like revenue, customer lifetime, or competitive differentiation, or loyalty and satisfaction, and talent retention and cost optimization. And this is also what we have done in the use case of Transcom. We have built this real-time translation on top of their existing already on-premise solution. And by adding this Avaya Experience Platform as a layer on top of that, they could have create their use case that can optimize their cost, improve their agent experience as well, and ultimately also the customer experience. So, but bear in mind, it doesn't matter how helpful AI-powered guidance is, if the agent really can't find and consume, and use this information, then it's not helpful. So we really need to invest also on the agent desktop. We really need to make sure that agents have the right information dynamically presented to their screen, so that they can enhance their employee experiences and ultimately the customer experience. And that's what we want to do here with our workspaces as well. We want to create a single pane of glass to view all the insights and recommendations so that they can use their judgment on what opportunities are to pursue and how to best proceed. And also by bringing all the different interactions and channels as a true omni-channel experience for both the customer and the employee onto one screen. And then also, we really need to focus on just-in-time information because we want to be proactive and provide information that is really personalized so that the agent can offer the next best action to the customers. But also by empowering agents through intelligent desktop design to handle the complex cross-channel journeys and efficiently serve the high-value customers by having the whole customer journey in one overview presented on their desktop. And also, as a customer, you would like to choose how you want to modify this desktop so that you integrate with the applications that are relevant to you and integrate with the CRM systems that you would like to have as a screen. For example, with Salesforce, Dynamics, or ServiceNow. So we can conclude that AI can have many opportunities to transform your contact center. And as we are now living in a world where organizations are really competing on the experience they provide to their customers, it is extremely difficult to deliver an exceptional customer experience without focusing on the employee experience. And therefore, we really need to create use cases that are personalized, connected, intuitive, and informed, because these are the experiences that customers also will remember. So if you are looking at your own contact center, what are the use cases that you would like to build with AI? We can, of course, present some examples. For example, the AI self-service. With self-service touchpoints are expected and preferred by many, many customers. So organizations should offer a self-service automation to really retain that customer loyalty, to have that employee retention, and to improve the brand, so that we have really an advanced interaction between the customer before they're going to respond to an agent. But then when an agent or when a customer really wants to speak to an agent, then the customer shouldn't be repeating his story. So we really need to make sure that all the data that is already captured in that self-service, that it's also transferred to the agent, and he has all that information so that he can already use and pick up the conversations where it was left off. But a second use case that you can think about is, for example, the empathic virtual agent. I already mentioned that the generative AI and conversational AI platforms has accelerated the AI within contact centers, and now we can actually have a virtual tool that can have an empathic response and also recognize the sentiment that a customer already has, which makes the whole conversation already more natural. And a last use case that I really want to highlight shortly, because Aaron from Transcom will talk about it much more. But one of the things is that when we see right now that there is still, it's more difficult to get all the right talent within your contact center, then maybe the language shouldn't be a problem anymore, because it's now also possible to have a multilingual assistant that real time can translate the language of the customer to the language of the agent, and while you can find more talent in all over the world instead of only in one country. These are just a couple of agent use cases that you can build with AI, and there's so much more, but today we're going to focus on the Transcom use case. And Aaron, I want to give you the words so that you can tell more about this one.
Perfect. Thanks, Celine. Let's start. Some of you might have had a long day. Some of you might have a long day ahead of you. So while I run you through my presentation, take a few moments and just stand up. Maybe turn around, stretch your neck, and then sit back down. Because I want you to pay full attention now. Good. You're back in your seat. Before we start talking about de-languaging the world, let's talk briefly about Transcom and who we are. Transcom, we are what you used to call a BPO. We think we are better labeled as customer experience experts to whom you outsource your customer experience and agent experience to. We operate globally with one dedicated customer experience AI team with some odd 50, 60 people in it, with experts across different domains. And in last year alone, we have deployed more than 45 AI-powered projects in one way or another. You can see us, some clients use us for advisory services. Some clients use us for integrated services as part of to make their CX journey work. And some trust us to go the full length of transforming their entire customer experience journey together with them. We are recognized as being in the forefront of new technology and how to make the best out of your contact center experience. And today, and on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a bit more around what that actually means in practice. So, your voice channel, if you still have one. Your strategy might have been for the past 8 to 10 years to try to shift those volumes into channels that are, a bit more cost optimized, easier to staff. If you have maybe text-based input that is more easy to do some, clever insights and intelligence around the data with. It's basically more convenient for you. But I think we can all testify to trying to move some of those volumes from voice to text haven't necessarily always yielded the results we were hoping for. If you talk to the customers who are actually interacting with you on a day-to-day basis, 72% still prefers doing their communications over voice. We believe this is a golden opportunity, especially with this the new type of technology we can offer, to actually stay in the preferred channel of your customer without necessarily the cost and complexity that goes with it. We see a huge potential in automating a lot of the voice use cases, like what Celinda spoke to yesterday, and both from a CX improvement journey, but also from just a mere cost aspect alone. So if we head over to the particular topic that we're going to be looking a bit more into today is a challenge that probably most of you that are providing services in more than one country, more so maybe in EMEA than elsewhere, or more so than in North America, perhaps. I think there you still have maybe a problem of finding English and Spanish speaking agents, for instance. But there is always a struggle to find the right people that speaks the language well enough to meet the expectations of our customers. And if we do find these people, they typically come at a price rate that isn't necessarily attractive for the entire offering. So what we've strung together with Avaya and Sabio, is a way where we can empower agents around the world to speak their customer's language. We do this by using AI-powered real-time translation and conversational AI. And if we jump over to the next slide, what does this truly mean for you? This means, I think it's a boring topic, but money talks, right? You can look at reducing your total cost of ownership by being able to have your workforce maximized and scalable from other locations. You can use it as cost reduction. You can increase productivity if you have several languages where you don't have full occupancy. All of a sudden, one person can speak more than one language at the same time, which make things a lot easier. And I think something that is sometimes overlooked is that this is also a tremendous asset in terms of BCP, where you basically overnight can shift volumes between locations, not necessarily have to be worried about whether or not your staff speaks this new language. So I think that's also something to be overlooked and something that you should keep in back of mind when you're looking at employing this type of technology. We will now be able to hire people for skill instead of language, and we can do this rather quickly. I think here is a bit of an example just to paint the picture a bit better for you in terms of look at the Nordic market, for instance, where you have a cost rate of roughly 35 euros an hour for an agent. What if you could find the same type of talent somewhere else in the world that speaks a different language, that is hired for their extreme qualities of providing service and not limited by the languages they speak? So your total cost of ownership can go down in many different ways. I think you can fully automate some flows with a voice bot, but where the rubber really meets the road is where you're able to provide real-time translation as well. Now, it's sort of the same technology as a voice bot if you think of it. You need to listen to what the customer says, you need to understand what's going on, and you need to give an answer back. But here, we can overcome sometimes what's, too complex use case to train the AI on, to fringe use cases, and you have a workforce in place that is already used dealing with these scenarios with the human touch. So you can keep this personal experience as you go along. And lastly, I want to share one example of where we're doing this today. So this is a global travel brand that we have the luxury of providing CX services to. We have looked at some of their smaller languages, namely Swedish, Finnish, Dutch, and Flemish. We are looking at a rather simple use case. So this is pre-travel use case where you should be able to change your seat, add a transfer, cancel your flight, hope not, change your booking, add luggage, etc. And what did this bring? Well, we are now able to set up a center of excellence where all this knowledge resides within one operational center. We can serve all of these markets. We can help the different markets out depending on their seasonalities and peaks and valleys in terms of volumes. Yes, it does increase a bit of the average handling time, but it's more convenient for most customers to get service faster during their preferred time of the day than the time of the actual call it takes. And we can afford to spend that time with each and every customer for the TCO points I mentioned earlier on. And I think one sort of metric of success here is in these journeys. And this, I think this is where us as Transcom comes in as a good partner to be working with based on our experience, because it's very much about how you set up the customer journey and sort of the fallbacks and safety nets that you need to have in place to make this technology work. So I think one of the good success criteria to look at here is how few people that actually choose to speak to a native speaker instead, because that is, of course, in order to provide good CX, there should always be an option to fall back to a native speaker. So obviously we have trained the model for it, we have trained our staff for it, but it's only a very small portion of the callers that actually choose to speak with a native speaker. And I think that is one of the true signs of that the technology does what it's supposed to, together with the process and together with the people. If you have any further questions about this, don't forget to write them in chat, and we'll address them during the live Q&A at the end of this session. And before I leave you, I want to give you a little introduction to what you're about to witness, because this is really cool. So what will take place now is a demo of Avaya's real-time translation solution, where you will have a caller calling in their native language. You will see on the screen the transcript, the translated transcript for the agent to follow. You will observe how the AI is eavesdropping on the conversation, in lack of better words, providing not only a translation, but also suggested actions and answers where it seems to be fitting. And I think more importantly is the omni-channel capabilities of the solution, where translating things like an email address or a street address might be tricky. And here is where Avaya and Sabio have helped us to build fallback mechanisms inside the use case itself, where we simply, if this type of information, let's say a booking reference, would be easier to receive via text. Basically, an SMS message gets sent out to the client or to the caller. They can respond in text, and that goes back into the conversation together with the agent, making for a way more seamless experience and avoiding things that could, otherwise try to take a long time. For instance, if I were to say aaron.bodin@transcom.com, that will most likely end up transcribed with 2 A's because it's a biased American model. And my email address and authentication flow would take, another 30 seconds to resolve before we figure that out. So pay attention to the demo. It's going to be really cool. And with that, I'll hand over to the demo. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Sabio Logistics. I am a virtual assistant and can speak Arabic, Dutch, and German. How can I help you today?
Ja, guten Morgen. Ich habe ein Paket erwartet, aber ich habe es nicht erhalten.
Okay, ich werde das für Sie überprüfen. Können Sie mir bitte die Tracking-Nummer geben?
Einen Moment bitte.
Sicher, nehmen Sie sich Zeit.
Okay, die Tracking-Nummer ist 3758294.
Vielen Dank für die Angabe der Sendungsverfolgungsnummer. Ich kann in unserem System sehen, dass Ihr Paket zum Versand bereit ist. Der voraussichtliche Liefertermin ist der nächste Freitag.
Nee, Freitag ist nicht gut. Da bin ich nicht zufrieden.
Ich verstehe Ihre Besorgnis. Leider ist dies der früheste verfügbare Liefertermin.
Verbinden Sie mich mit einem Mitarbeiter.
Okay, ich werde Sie mit einem Mitarbeiter des Kundendienstes verbinden. Leider sind keine deutschsprachigen Mitarbeiter verfügbar. Stattdessen werden wir unser neuestes Übersetzungstool verwenden. Einen Moment bitte.
Hallo, mein Name ist Ashley. Ich werde heute ein Übersetzungstool verwenden, daher kann es zu einer Verzögerung bei der Beantwortung Ihrer Fragen kommen. Es tut mir leid zu hören, dass Sie mit der erwarteten Lieferzeit nicht zufrieden sind. Als sehr geschätzter Kunde kann ich Ihnen einen Rabattgutschein für Ihre nächste Bestellung anbieten.
Oh, das ist nett, vielen Dank.
Um Ihnen den Gutschein zukommen zu lassen, benötige ich Ihre E-Mail-Adresse. Ich habe Ihnen einen Link per SMS geschickt. Verwenden Sie den Link, um Ihre E-Mail-Adresse einzugeben. Wenn Sie meine Hilfe benötigen, verwenden Sie das Wort Hilfe. Vielen Dank, ich habe Ihre E-Mail-Adresse erhalten. Das kann einen Moment dauern, bitte bleiben Sie in der Leitung. Ich habe den Gutschein für Sie angefordert. Gibt es sonst noch etwas, womit ich Ihnen helfen kann?
Ja, kurze Frage. Sind alle Ihre Pakete versichert?
Ja, alle unsere Pakete sind während des Transports versichert.
Wunderbar, das ist gut. Danke, auf Wiedersehen.
Vielen Dank für Ihren Anruf bei Sabio Logistics. Ich wünsche Ihnen einen schönen Tag.
So, I hope everyone enjoyed the demo and got a good sense of this real-time translation solution. And I want to thank you, Celinda, for explaining a bit more about the Avaya Experience Platform, but also highlighting the importance for the employee to have a workable situation with the one desktop. And also, Aaron, thank you for sharing your great insights, first on Transcom and what they are all doing, but also on the journey and, for example, hiring on skill, which is quite important instead of hiring on the skills to have different languages available, but you can really hire on skills to provide a good service. If you can jump to the next slide, Celinda, that would be nice. Well, from the Sabio perspective, as I mentioned before in the introduction, we go beyond the tech solely. It should become an integrational part of your business, and it should bring benefits. For example, as mentioned also by Aaron, on the cost part, but also on the CX part and employee part, as was mentioned as well. But we try to make it a bit more concrete in this chapter of the webinar and taking things step by step. And we use our method, inform, transform, and perform. And that helps you to make it more practical, actionable, and most importantly, more achievable. Because I don't know whether you've all seen it in the slides of Aaron, but within 12 weeks, there was a product live on real-time translation. So I want to make it more concrete now. If you could go to the next slide, Celinda. Well, if you look at the inform phase, it's all starting with understanding the customer journey, what you're going to take on, and focus on what you want to achieve. You can't do everything at the same time because that might be overwhelming. But it's also important that you look at the impactful parts of your organization. Which parts people still want to use a real agent to talk to? Where can you enter the voice part? But we also look like your goals. What do you want to achieve as a business? And how can you make sure that the technology is going to help you? And we start creating a prototype. And it's something we do together. So it's something which all brings together your concerns and breakdowns, but also the challenges and especially where you would like to do that within your organization. And it's more about getting the clarity and the focus from all different angles. So from the partner, from the customer, the organization, different person from your organization should be involved. For example, involve an employee or an agent who's doing the actual work, involve the technology part, but also different roles should be involved in the beginning stage. And we start this, as I mentioned, with a prototype, and it's done via a workshop. And then once you are going, you can move quickly. As you notice, 12 weeks within from prototype till live, that's pretty quickly. And we start creating an MVP, a minimal viable product. So it's a basic version of the solution that you can implement fast, but also where you can start seeing the results right away, but also make adjustments, because it's not solely about getting things up to speed, but you would also make sure that you want things to have it the right way, and that you can work with the solution that really solves the issues in that specific journey you would like to make more practical and impactful. And I think that's also where you should focus. So it's not solely the tech you should get up and running in a minimal viable product, but also how you involve the organization and your employees and the processes. So to make sure that if you go live, everything is aligned on each other. And then if you go to the next slide, so that's the transform. Oh, sorry. Could you go back? I was too quickly. So if you have the transform phase where you have the minimal viable product, and then you go to the live version, like we are going to put the minimal viable product, the MVP, live, and then you are going to collect feedback and start thinking about monitoring and the performance, and also to make sure that the goals and objectives you put on the first phase, in the inform phase, and the strategy, whether you are going to meet them when you're alive. You need to make the whole circle again to make sure that the solution is going to help you grow, but also evolves your business needs. So you should really see the success of the inform phase go through the transform phase, and then in the perform phase, seeing everything going to be working and also getting the results you are focusing on. So what I want you to leave with today is that real-time translation, the technology may seem pretty difficult. For example, like Aaron told you with the email address or the postcodal zip code, phone numbers, mentioning things. But at the same time, if you work close together and really start working on a prototype and an MVP, and applying it with your partner and in the right technology, it's going to be achievable. And we can help you, guide you through it together to understand your needs. So if you go to the last slide, now you can, Celinda, thank you. I really want to emphasize on the partnership, because I believe, and luckily we all believe together, that success comes from collaboration and not from isolation. So it's a partnership between you as a customer, your partners, for example, Avaya, but also with us with Sabio, and the technology. And it all comes together to learn from each other, bring our strengths together, but also challenges each other, because everybody has his own experience, but also their own expertise. And you should really start working together to make sure you create something amazing as the real-time translation solution we showed you in the demo. And I also believe that's how Transcom made their solution work, just to really collaborate within Transcom, but also with their partners. So if you take a moment, just think about where your organization stands. How could you make your real-time translation enhance your customer service? How can you enhance your customer interactions? Which specific interaction would you like to enhance? And how could you make it easier for your employees? That's something I really would like you to think about and see whether you can find some answers or whether you need some help on that. So we go to the live Q&A afterwards.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Maaike and Aaron, for your story today. I think it's a very, very nice use case that we have built together with the three of us. So if you have now questions, please let us know, and then we can answer those.
But I'm really confident that we showcased what the main points were of the real-time translation in process. And if you would like to see it without any glitches, please drop us a message and we will get in touch with you. We received multiple questions in the Q&A. We need to look at the time and try to answer them as much as possible. But if there are questions not answered, we will come back to you after the webinar and make sure your questions will be answered. Just To start, Celinda, can you explain a bit more about how the Avaya Experience platform with CRM systems improve the customer journey and support the agents?
Yes, sure. Yeah. I can elaborate a little bit more on that. What we see right now is as well that CRM systems are very important for some companies as well, and they choose to have that as their main desktop environment. So that's why we have created a platform, the workspaces, the unified desktop environment, as a connector as well, so that we can integrate that within the CRM tool, so that you can still have the CRM tool as the main environment to work in, to have all the customer details at your fingertips, to make cases, to write all the interactions in the CRM tool as well. But you can have also the advantages of the experience platform by showing the customer journey, where you have the different interactions over the timeline. You have a click to call from the CRM, and you can save all the details or create an automatic case within the CRM tool. And that's really to improve that experience for the agents by bringing it all to one screen and not switching between the different solutions. It will really make the work of the agent more efficient.
Okay, well, thank you. That was an elaborate answer. Thank you for that. Aaron, can you explain something more about the biggest challenges you've seen when integrating the voice AI with the existing systems, and how do you approach with real-time translation addressing these challenges?
Definitely I can. I think it's been a bit of a bumpy road, because when you look at implementing technology like this, you cannot simply just take the technology and slap onto your existing processes and operations. I think there are several different stakeholders that needs to get involved, get familiar with the tool, get familiar with a new way of working, whereas now you are, instead of maybe talking, you are typing out your answers, but you still need to sound like you're talking, for instance. So that's a bit of a challenge for our teams to work with. And then also around the quality assurance piece of now you are, instead of you're listening to the calls, but you're also going through transcripts. You need to have knowledgeable people within the language pairs you're setting up, so that you can ensure that the quality is accurate and translation quality is up to standards. And you also need to be very quick on adjusting by tuning your prompts or updating glossaries to make sure that whatever did not work yesterday will indeed work today. So I think it's similar to standard contact center work, but you're equipped with a new range of tools that just need to apply that mindset with this technology, as opposed to working with humans. Now you are working with a virtual agent and coaching that instead, essentially.
Just because I saw another question in the Q&A about this as well, and you just mentioned it briefly, Aaron, about the quality of the translation and how to keep it updated. Is that something you can elaborate a bit more on, so that it answers multiple questions in the Q&A?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that is one of the reasons I think we've come further than most when using this technology, because we have built an entire framework around this with processes and manuals and support to actually be able to be on top of the quality. Because I think it's just so much more than just having a translation service translating from one language to another. You have cultural aspects, you have nuances, you have things like the ways of saying things differently in different languages that might come across very strange if you just translate them. So I think that's where we are spending still quite a bit of time to make sure that we can deliver a good sounding translation together with the operators.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. I see a lot of questions in the Q&A about the languages and which languages will be available and which languages will be supported. We will come back to you after the webinar to go a bit more in depth answering those questions. I also see a question, what was the biggest challenge when setting up the translation use case? Perhaps I can elaborate a bit on that. I think, well, mainly you have the technology part, which is also costing time and is making sure that there's a big challenge. But also, I think, and I still believe that it's a big challenge to ensure your employees are involved. The agents who are going to work with the system, as Erwin just mentioned also, they should type their answers instead of talking, and there are changes involved. So there should be a change process into place to make sure that this works as well. And I think you should involve them pretty early on, right, so that they can follow up in the process and see what is going on to make sure that they are really aligned and understand what we are going to do. There is a specific question. I'm just trying to look. Aaron, specific questions for you, whether you can talk a bit, what are some of the cultural nuances you train your agents on? So that would follow up on my part just mentioned.
Yeah, I think one example is the way, let's say you are translating, you are training your agents to address me as a Swede, to address the Swedish market, for instance. In some languages, you are addressing people with first name, maybe throughout the conversation, and it's deemed polite and the correct way to do so. But if you were to do that in Swedish, it would appear extremely condescending. So that is just one, practical example of just changing the way you are interacting, not only by the words you're typing, but also how you build up the sentences to make it culturally right. There are also these things about standard local knowledge. How does a zip code look like? Do houses typically have basements? Is it common for e-payments as opposed to cash payments? And all of these sort of things that you sort of take for granted when you have staff familiar with that culture, that you now need to bake into the training package.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. So Linda, there's also a question about custom interactions come together on the desktop. How does this help streamline the process? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yes, sure. Well, the desktop is very, very important in this part as well, because by what we have done, we have created the workspaces as the unified desktop, and really to provide then also that true omni-channel experience, because by bringing it all to one desktop, you don't create the silos of having disjointed solutions. And you really want to bring it all together, but also you really want to bring it all together to see what are the applications that you as a company are using to provide the right information to the agents. So what are the applications that you need to manage all those interactions? And by bringing it all to one desktop environment, you can really streamline that process, because you don't have to switch between different applications anymore. You can even automatically push it while listening to that conversation. Exactly what the use case is showing here as well. If you're there, it can be live monitored, and then you can live translate that. But also with other interactions, you can you can listen into that conversation, and then at the right moment you can push for the right suggestions. We have also seen that during the demo, that suggestions are being pushed to the agent, helping streamlining that process as well. And there are many other agent-assisted tools nowadays by providing a full transcription of the conversation, by making a summary out of that, really to streamline that process, to help the agents also lowering the after contact work. And that all comes down to that desktop environment, to make it all come together at one place and not disjointed anymore.
Okay, thank you. I saw another question in the Q&A from a person, and I don't want to be bold, so I'm not going to mention names, but it was mentioned that you just shared a question, but it's not showing. I can't see it in here as well, so please send it again, then we will try to answer that question. Aaron, can you explain a bit more about the processes where you would use this? Because I see, for example, questions about whether you would also use this AI translation for complaint processes, for example, or for processes where there is a high pressure on time because of the services provided. Is that something you could elaborate a bit on?
Yes, and I think this is something that together with our clients typically start with figuring out whether or not these types of services is a good fit. Because I think let's be honest, in all types of scenarios, one would not necessarily prefer to speak to a synthetic voice with a bit of delays. So I'm thinking where speed is of the essence, like in emergency services or whatever. Maybe that's a use case for later when we have sort of figured out to further reduce the latency and things like this, because there is indeed a bit of latency for the platform to translate. So that's something that I would probably put a pin in for a year or so until the models continue to evolve. And then there's also about, how does this user journey look like? What are your personas? Have you already, met this persona in other channels, and voice is sort of the last resort? Where we see it's extremely successful is essentially, allowing the customer to opt in for a solution like this. It could be something, we don't have a native agent to serve you right now, but if you want to skip the queue, we can sort you out with this automatic translation solution. So it's very much around setting the stage and setting ourselves up for success, because this is today, and this is where we keep on pushing Avaya and Sabio and others to we need to make it more natural. But where we're at today, I think that with how the technology behaves, we really should think hard about which use cases to go for first, not to to set ourselves up for success. So it's not. I don't have a clear answer to it. It's about knowing your customers, knowing your channels, mapping out your processes, and from there on out, let's see if this technology can augment that journey in a positive way, and something that we are helping our clients with on a day-to-day basis. So if you want to know more, just reach out and can help you with that.
I totally agree. And I also think that's why you should just start thinking together with your partners in the inform phase, like what is the use case, what is the business case, and to make sure you use the right processes for this real-time translation. So I totally agree with you, Aaron, on this part. I also see a question about customer satisfaction, and I just need to scroll through all the questions. Sorry for that. But I think, Selina, perhaps you could answer that one. And it's about how is Avaya measuring the customer satisfaction and also the productivity of the agents. Can you mention something about it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, about the customer satisfaction, that is, of course, that you need to measure that. You need to have that, maybe that survey at the end to really see what the response is, what is the customer really thinking about the whole experience. But you can also, of course, already feel that during a conversation as well. What is the actual reaction of the customer, of course, and then. But if you want to have like an overall data and overall information about what the customer satisfaction is, you need to have the tools and to actually measure that and have that data. So you need to implement some kind of survey at the end. And about the agent productivity. Yeah, well, we have, of course, during that conversation, you can actually have those KPIs set up. You can measure, of course, how long was the conversation? Was it the first time fix? Do we need to go back? So all those KPIs can be set, and we can make real-time dashboards and also historical reporting out of that to actually measure the agent productivity.
Yeah, and to follow up on that as well, because if you involve the agents from the beginning onwards, you can also discuss with them about the agent productivity, what they need and what they need from the AI tooling to see how they can measure it. So you can incorporate it also on your MVP if you start working on it.
Yeah.
A lot of questions still coming in about the languages, which we will follow up.
Yeah, maybe I can just chime in on the languages, because I saw some of those questions as well. And I think this is also part of understanding your use case, because there is a difference, and that's why you need to spend a bit of time on this. Just because you can machine translate between languages, there is a bit of science and nuances to making that language pair work. So how we usually do it is we go, language by language, where we are vetting the translation quality quite thoroughly, just besides ticking a box saying that we can translate between them, to truly understand if that translation quality is up to our standards. And I think we for instance, which we have tried with Hebrew, which it didn't, even though it translates kind of okay text to text, running it through this translation model was something that we felt a bit sort of uneasy with, just because of the output quality was a bit too low. Not ruling Hebrew out, I think it still needs to be matched with your use case. So I think it's part of understanding your scope, and also you need to get your hands on the tech pretty early, like a POC, what we talked about earlier, to try to figure out these hypotheses and have linguistics experts involved that can help us assess the output.
Yeah, thank you for that. Also, with regards to the time, I know we have a hard stop, so I need to be careful. So I would say one final question. Let me quickly check. Is there something we can say about using the tooling? Implementation cost, sorry. I see also questions about whether we can use this tooling without AI or a bot. So I'm not really sure whether we can understand it. So please elaborate a bit more on that question, and we can answer that question for you. Does it also translate emotion or humor? Is that something either one of you can answer in 1 minute?
I would say I can answer that. Today it doesn't. You can pick up a bit of sentiments. However, the underlying foundation models are getting better and better. So predictions tells us that we will be able to capture more elements and nuances of a spoken word in a short period of time. And I think, just to sort of wrap this up, but using Avaya and AXP in our case to do this still grants you access to everything else you're used to use, which makes an update to such a foundation model or something else down the line way simpler than going for something third party. So I think I also made up my own question and answered that in terms of why Avaya. Yeah.
Well, with regards to the time, we all three of us want to thank you for participating in this webinar. It was really fun to showcase. Again, sorry for the glitch about the demo. If you would like to have more information, just reach out. In addition, we will make sure all the questions that are still left in the Q&A will be answered, and we will contact you also about partnering, whether we can do it in a specific country, etc. So all of those questions will be answered.
And as last, everyone will receive also a replay of this webinar.
Okay. Thank you, and have a very nice day.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.